What I'd like to demonstrate today is how to manipulate different loft sections. We did something on the Tiger. We started to experiment with free-form surfaces, and now I'd like to expand that concept into loft surfaces. So I've opened up front plane, and I'll start a sketch on front plane, and I'm just going to put a spline out here. And agree to this sketch. Now I'm going to select my front plane again. I'm going to insert some reference geometry, a plane, and I'm going to run this plane back 3 inches away from my other plane. That gives me a new plane 1 here, and I'm going to open a sketch on plane 1. So I'm going to draw another spline on this sketch, but you can see it is different, and I'll agree to this sketch. Now I realize everything is in blue. That won't affect us today for what we have going on. And my plane 1 is kind of blocking the view, so I'm going to come over here to plane 1 and hide it. So I'll just click on the eyeglasses. Now I'd like to go to my surfaces toolbar, and in case they're not up, if you go to View, and down here towards the bottom is toolbars, and I've got surfaces turned on. That's one place to find them, or if you're a menu person instead of an icon person, you can go to Insert, Surface, and we're going to do a loft surface today. So if I grab loft surface, it wants to know a couple of profiles, and I'll just select these 2 profiles, and I'm selecting them both on the same end. That's fairly important. It gives me a preview of my loft that I can fit in there. If you don't select them both on the same end, what can happen is this little green ball can go over to the other side and you won't get a preview, or you'll get something that looks kind of hourglass shaped. And we'll leave it over here where it can actually figure out how to do this. Alright, so I have my lofted surface in there. If I agree to this, I have kind of a nice magic carpet looking shape here. And if you look on the side here, both of my sketches have been consumed by this surface loft. If I click the little plus character, then it will expand this, and both of my sketches are still in there. So I can dramatically change this if I get in and edit my control points on that spline. If I agree to those and close this sketch, I have a dramatically looking different loft has been produced. And you can do that for either sketch. You can start off with your original sketch and say, okay, maybe I want something also kind of strange from it, or maybe not as strange. If we tone that down a little bit and bend this around, you can see the result of this is an amazing amount of flexibility to create surfaces. Very similar to the freeform surfaces, but with more control, because you can actually define where each of those control points are on the spline itself and get a lot of control over how things are flexing. Now, here's what I really like about lofts, if you come out here and you put your cursor over the loft and right click on it, there is a section for Add Loft Section. And when you click on that, it puts a plane out here and actually splits this loft. It puts a plane on your loft and actually will split that loft. And you can tug on this plane and put it wherever you want it. It goes through your surface. And then if you agree to it, at first it looks like nothing has happened. But if I draw your attention over here to the surface loft area, notice it has added in a sketch 3 right in between sketch 1 and 2. And that sketch is the new one. It produced a new sketch with a cross section of your loft for you at that point, and it is editable. You can go in, edit it, flatten things out, pump things up, and produce a new loft, a new surface that can really get tangly. So if you need to add in, let's say we needed to add in for some reason a little bump down here in this valley. Alright, so I'll just turn this thing where I can kind of see that valley. So I'm going to right click on my surface, add loft section, position the plane where you want it, where it'll cut down through that valley. And if you can see, it's slightly darker on the back side than the front side. This color change gives you some indication of where it's at. Agree to this with the green check mark, and it's added in a new sketch over here. I edited out sketch 4, so that's where it went. Sketch 5 is in there, and I can mess with my spline. So if I say edit sketch, pick on the spline, and all my spline tools apply too. This is another toolbar here. Spline tools. Let's say, for instance, if I didn't have a point down in here, or even if I do, I can move him out and agree to that. This spline tool, insert a spline point. So I can put in as many spline points as I need, and all those are editable also. And so I can add my bump into the valley just that easily. I'll put my spline tools, I'll dock my spline tools again over here. Agree to my spline, agree to this sketch, and have a pretty good sized bump sticking up in that valley.